to interrupt me. And so without further ado, let's get started. So this is a rough agenda for today. So we first will discuss what's data sharing, then talk like what to do with autonomous, what it has to do with autonomous database, and then over to most exciting part, demo. Okay, what is the data sharing? Data sharing is a process to make data available for one or many recipients to use. Well, but is sharing data with FTP or sending them over email or using services such as a Google Drive or Dropbox are not data sharing? It is. It is a data sharing, but any of this approach, it's kind of traditional data sharing. It has lots of challenges. It's no data governance or security. So it's very hard to refresh, update like this data set. It's a very labor intensive. It's hard to scale, and list of problems goes on. It's why today we're going to talk about the modern data sharing. In this case, you share data centrally and secure, and you don't need to duplicate those data sets. So modern data sharing open up a few business opportunities. Like first of all, you can eliminate the silos. You may have like systems spread it across different engines and spread it across different clouds, and you can now treat it as a single unified IT system. You can improve business effectiveness. You can share so you can share data much faster within your organization. And at the end of the day, you can sell data as a product. It's a new revenue stream. So one concept I'd like to introduce, like share provider and share recipient. Share provider is the person who centrally manages the data set, and share provider is only owner of the physical data. And then share recipient just get the metadata and like using those metadata to access a physical copy. And the data provider can grant or revoke those metadata, those credentials to the data recipient. And Snowflake was a kind of pioneering this, and Snowflake was really good at data sharing. And we have given them a credit. They have very decent solution. Although there is one elephant in the room. Snowflake can share only within Snowflake ecosystem. If you share data from Snowflake to Snowflake, great. If you want to go beyond Snowflake ecosystem, you end up having problems. So this is the reason why Oracle take a look on their open source, open solutions such as a Delta sharing. So Delta sharing, it's an open source protocol. It's supported by multiple clients and programs. It's a vendor agnostic. And what Oracle did, Oracle implemented Delta sharing within autonomous database. We just embedded. So nothing has to be managed, managed separately or installed or patched. So you just have it within your autonomous database, and it's embedded right into the database. And what's more important, the way it works, like Oracle database, we segregate like shared data into the object storage, and the clients redirect the object storage without impacting provider database. So in this model, client pays for the data consumption, not the data provider. So because otherwise like it would be like very big workload on the data provider. And it's kind of segue to my next to my next Q&A type of the slide. Like, what's the difference between Delta sharing and direct database connection? Like many of you guys can think like, hey, can't I just log into the database, right, using JDBC or ODBC? And what Delta sharing gives for me? And there are a few aspects. Like first of all, it's enhanced governance. And Delta sharing. Within Delta sharing, you can select specific tables and views from multiple schemas to share, and you can just better control what you share with data and with whom you share. Second, it's workload segregation. Data consumer does not impact provider's workload. So the clients, the Delta clients, goes directly to the object storage bypassing like database layer, and it consequently, we can draw a conclusion that data consumer is responsible for the cost, so not data provider. And last but not least, flexible network access. Like, for example, you may have data in a private VCN and you want to share it over public internet, and data sharing allows you to do this trick. So this is the list of the data sharing. I took it from official Databricks website. It's not full, so it's just like example of the clients, if you will, that support data sharing. And list is steadily grow. So, but you may be wondering, like, okay, you got a point of being universal, and you share data from Oracle to anyone else, or anyone else can share data with Oracle. But what if I have a fleet of autonomous databases? Do we have anything special? Do we have anything that Oracle do specifically for Oracle databases? Yes, we do. It's the second flavor of the sharing, Oracle to Oracle, optimized to Oracle. So it's native for Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Recipient automatically notified for data, for the new data being shared. Data is real time and instantly available. So, there is no need to do authentication, like authentication done automatically as well as discovery. So, and like data consumer directly access our data set shared with them. Let's have a conclusion. Like Oracle data sharing consists of two parts, and like now 2 parts in general availability. Like one, it's Oracle to anyone. So it's universal, it's flexible. Oracle can share data outside of Oracle ecosystem. And Oracle can cover like any type of clients that supports data sharing protocol, which is widely adopted by many vendors and programming languages. Second, if you want something more within like Oracle ecosystem, from sharing like from one ADB to another one ADB, we have a special special optimized solution for this called CloudLink. Okay, and now let's briefly talk about the use cases, like how what Oracle can how data sharing can be used within Oracle Autonomous Database. And first, it's sharing data with their Databricks, with their data sharing clients. So imagine you have your customers ask for data. You need to share this data set with them. Someone like Python, someone like SQL, someone like Power BI, and you don't really want to create every pipeline for every customer and export and do an export for one customer in CSV file. So provide like some sort of Python notebook access for the second customer, give a credential in a Power BI or Tableau for the third one. It's not something you want to do. You better come up with a universal or sharing approach when you give data sharing, and then clients pick any tools they may like. So, and also good for internal collaboration. Like, for example, you have like a group of people running who like let's say Power BI, and they want to analyze data, but you don't want to pay like for all the queries. It's another one good use case. Second use case is cross Oracle database data exchange. When you have data within a several Oracle Autonomous Database instances, and you want to this database collaborate. So, and you may do real-time live share, and this allows you to real exchange data within across your autonomous database in real time. And the third use case, it's kind of a sub case for the first one, but it's very common, and it's why I decided to put it as a separate case. Databricks and autonomous database, it's multi-cloud and multi-workload environment. So, and we have lots of customers who are running Databricks in other clouds, such as Azure or Amazon. We have our Oracle data in OCI, and data sharing allows you to break down those silos and exchange data in both directions. So, and as an example, we have like Mars or Mars Healthcare, so who uses data sharing, and so they have like autonomous data warehouse, and they have lots of Power BI users, and they want to segregate their costs. So they will separate costs from data being consumed from autonomous database by Power BI, and data sharing, it's a very convenient solution for this. So like the Mars can just create a share and provide access to Power BI user who will be able to access this share. Who will be able to access this share. So
Alejandro, are you wanting to comment? Are you on?
I am on,
Hi.
yes.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Do you want to comment about the ease of it and, you know, just like how it's been used and how you
Yeah.
understand?
We had a scenario where we wanted to share supplier data with multiple locations. We have about 3,000 hospitals worldwide, and a set of those, at least for now, it will be something that we will roll out for everybody. But right now, all of our Asian locations would need access to query basically supplier information in the different locations. And what we end up doing is using Delta Share, and it's been really great to us. It's very easy to set up in an autonomous database. And then, once you're the producer of the data, the consumer of the data, which in this case is being consumed by Power BI. The consumption is also very seamless because Power BI already has an adapter for Delta Share. So the consumption is also very seamless. You just basically provide connection details, and the Power BI application is able to query and to get the data from Delta Share. And then we built a little application on top of that just to provide the access to the end users to query the data and analyze the data. So it's been pretty wonderful. And then we are thinking of doing more of this. So we have other use cases where we're thinking on Delta Share as a way to do it. And it's been really good. I mean, several advantages is, for one, the actual minimum compute cost that this has. So, the Delta Share is basically the data is moved to object storage for the views or tables that you're sharing. So the querying of the data happens there. It doesn't happen in the database. So the effort that the database needs to do is minimum, really. And then the consumption of the data, if you have applications that are ready to consume Delta Share, is also it's very easy. So, we were able to basically from a POC to go live, it was just a few weeks, and we were live. So very fast to implement as well.
So what's involved either of you to just get it set up then on the ADB side?
What did what? I'm
What
sorry,
do you
Laura?
do? Yeah, what do you do? It's on the console and
Yeah, no, it's just going into the ADW console in our case, and from there you just go through and select basically what are the tables or views that you want to share. Enter the required information for the receiver of the information, and it will spool basically an email with a small file that has all of the connection details, and then the consumer takes that data and connects.
nice.
So very
Okay.
it's pretty simple as long as the data is there and so forth. You're already there. So it's great. The other thing is the data refresh functionality as well, right? So we are refreshing the data on a regular basis, and the functionality that Alexei and his team has put into the intelligence behind those refreshes is pretty impressive, in the sense that if if there is a good amount of data that has changed since the previous revision, it will do like a full load. But if it's small enough, it will do just a delta. So it all happens behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about it at all. There is no code needed for refreshing. The refresh kind of happens automatically with the right data. So we haven't found any particular example where is that there's any data missing or anything like that. It's been just completely seamless. Yeah.
Well, first production customer, Alexei.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure to work with you, Alejandro. So and
Sure.
to continue this journey. So
yeah, we got more
feedback.
we got more use cases. So
Thank you so much.
Okay.
we'll continue.
Hey,
Very
Laura,
good.
can I ask a quick question? Alejandro.
Sure.
Hey, it's Derek from Outfront. We've been like right on the verge of using this, but one of the things you said sparked my interest. So are you publishing essentially data sets that Power BI users in your organization are then running and consuming against? So it doesn't move outside of object storage?
It does move outside of our object storage. So what we have done specifically with the supplier model, because the data is not that small, we have thousands of suppliers. What we have done is Power BI has a functionality called data sets or something like that, where basically the first step in the process is connect to Delta Share and then get all the data and put it in a local space.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Okay.
and then from there, the users are querying a copy, basically.
Got it.
Right? So every time we refresh, Power BI also refreshes, but it is a copy. So for the end user, it's really fast. This is a local copy that is right there. Right. So in this case, this data ends up in some server in Asia, and the users are also there. So that's what's happening.
Interesting. Okay, great. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome.
All right. Thank you,
So,
Alejandro, again.
Thank you,
Alex.
Alejandro, like one more time. So, and let's move on. And so I think I have a demo. I will try to go fast through the demo and show like how delta sharing can be used. So, at my use case, I'm working for movie streaming company. So it's a company who sells the content, so such as a Netflix or HBO. And by the way, I'm Mike. I'm data analyst. I know something about IT, but I don't have a strong background. And another morning, instead of coffee, I got an annoying email. Our business is losing customers. And analyst group and data scientist group wants to help, but they need data. Before I hear another group within my organization made a system to identify customers likely to leave, probably I have to check this data. So they run this on Databricks on different cloud in Azure. First, Databricks has to create delta sharing. First, Databricks has to create delta sharing. So this is a Databricks UI, and this is how Databricks sharing data with me. So this is a data browser, and they have a table, potential churners. So this table has to be shared with Oracle database. And by the way, they run periodical refresh, and I don't have a stale copy will not be sufficient for me. I want to have like real-time access. So because like they rebuild this model, like let's say every day. And in purpose for this, I create a share and I add a table. So with the potential churners, and I add this to my share. So then I need to create a named recipient. So it's going to be like Oracle database. If it's not Databricks, so you can just give a free-form name. And optionally, you can just comment for the purpose of this. And that's pretty much it. And I got my named recipient. So, but I need something, right, to access this share. I need some credentials. And this is a link that Databricks team shared with me. So over Slack or email or any other convenient for that way. And then I just paste it in my browser, and I can then load credential file. This credential file is a key from the kingdom. Having this file, I can access Databricks or data sharing. All right, so data share is ready. I need to connect my autonomous database. So second step, I jump to my autonomous database, and I'm going to consume the share. So data share, what I want to do, I want to consume share. What I want to do, I want to subscribe to the provider, and two type of share, it's delta sharing. So, and on the previous step, I just download my profile. I export it here, give it a name and something meaningful for me. And I see list of available shares. It's only one share, one, but very important. So next, I'll have list of their shares and tables, drag and drop. So, and then I'll be able to create external table over the data set stored in Databricks. What I want to stress out that data remains in Databricks. You don't copy data over, you just create external table, and this external table will show you always latest data that you have on Databricks. So basically, it's in real time you get access to it. So. Right. Next, I also need to add some more details about customers. Our CRM system running on ATP, Oracle Transactional Processing on Oracle Cloud. And guys are happy to help. First, I need to obtain my share token. I say, hey guys, can you share data with me? They happy to help, but they ask for sharing ID. It's kind of your identificator for your database. It's pretty easy to obtain. And then when ATP guys have these identifiers, they can share data with me. Share data. Then they want to provide a data set. So great, and give name to the share. So then type of the share. Now it's a live sharing. So it's ADB to ADB. I pick up something I would love to share. I have to create a recipient. Like remember, and one step before I obtain my sharing ID, and I will use this sharing ID. I will use this sharing ID to to identify my recipient. So, all right. So share is created. Share is created, and now it became available for my autonomous data warehouse. Let's give it a try. So I jump back to my autonomous database and go to the data sharing. So I want to consume share, and I have data available for me, like CRM data, and I just click subscribe, like all data set. So like all information I have about the share provider. I have one share as well. I subscribe to this share, and here we go. I have a list of the objects, and I can create a view into my target database. Okay, now I have all data I need. I have data in database. I have data from Databricks. I have data from ATP. Now I need to share it with my end consumers, with the Power BI users and Python users. And in order to do so, I create this giant view. So, and I join like 7 tables. And the good thing that I do it once into the autonomous database, and then I dump this flat file into the object storage, and the client does not burn any CPUs to perform this join. So I just do it once, and probably I do it like when I refresh the data set, but it's kind of one-time effort, like write once, read many. So I want to share data. I want to provide a data set. So, and I create a share, give it a name. So give it a name, and then it's something that's meaningful for me. Then I pick up a object storage where I will stage it. So technical detail. Then I pick up a set of the tables I would like to share, and recipients. So give it a name, and then define an email. So all right, and then share became available for external users. So, and I automatically will generate email. So, and this email will have a URL to their something we call data sharing profile. This is a key from the kingdom. This is something that allows you to get access to the data sharing using any data sharing client. So I follow this URL, I download JSON profile, and now it's ready, data is ready to be consumed. So let me help Python guys and Power BI guys to get access to this data. So let's start with the Python. So, and I'll show you a code for sake of simplicity. So basically here, I just provide a path to my JSON file, and this JSON file shows me a list of the shares, schemas, and first 10 rows of a table. So, and so I am connecting to my data sharing server, and then I list first 10 rows. Great, it does work. Second use case, it's a Power BI. So within Power BI, I specify that I want to define a source. It's a data sharing. So it's, you know, it's like a SQL or MySQL, SQL Server or MySQL. So this type of connections. And then from the profile, I get endpoint. I took endpoint, specify it here, and then I can connect my Power BI to the data sharing. So I see a list of the data sets available for me. So I would like to use like this object to analyze. And then you can do like any Power BI magic you like or have or get used to. So I'm not an analyst guy, so it would be hard for me to show something impressive, but it's, even for me, it's pretty intuitive that you can show like different parameters, you can do some aggregations, you can build some charts, and so on. So, and what we did, we just combine autonomous database data with the data stored in Databricks, enrich it with data from ADB, like all data available in real time, and then expose this data set using data sharing protocol to the other consumers. And as an example, I showed you Python and Power BI, but it's extensive list. If you want to try it yourself, take a look on our live lab. So, and it's available for public use. And of course, we'll be happy to work with you guys if some of you want to try our data sharing, and if you hit any challenges or if you have some questions, happy to help. So, and please reach out to Laura, or if you worked before, feel free to reach out to me directly. We'll be happy to work with you. And now, Steve, sorry, I took like extra 7 minutes of your time. Over to you.
He only has 23 minutes of stuff anyway, don't you, Steve?
I do now.
All right, thanks so much, Alexi. Does anyone have questions for him, or maybe more for Alejandro? All right, so we'll give it a try. Let us know.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you, Alexi. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
All right. Steve, thank you. This is 2 months worth of updates, right?
Yes. So can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. All right. Thanks, Alexi. That was an awesome demo. Hadn't seen that quite yet.
Into slideshow.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, as Laura mentioned, we missed last month. So this will be an update of across March
and April, now that we're into May. And as always, you can see the full list of everything in our what's new chapter of the documentation up here in the overview of the tab, but we put them in there by month. So we'll go through March and April here on the update. Okay, so first, it's an extension from the one that we finished off last in February, which was pre-authenticated request URLs, which is essentially a very simple way to also share data through just through a URL. So it's not quite as as much governance and management that you get through Delta sharing and things like that, but it is a very, very simple way to just very quickly say, okay, I want to give somebody access to this data, and then they can download that data by just clicking on a URL. But the example is here, we can say, oh, I want to give access to this table called tree data, and I only want to give it for 360 minutes, right? Or example, an expiration count. So, only 10 times can this query here run using that particular pre-authenticated URL. So there's no, security or anything. It's just, here is my data, right? So, definitely a kind of a very ease of use type of thing. But this month or last month, we actually added some new features around views for statistics. So now you can monitor and really see all the statistics as to each access of that pre-authenticated URL by within a particular autonomous database. So kind of giving you some management reporting as to when that data was accessed and things like that. So it definitely gives you an easier way of sharing data, but also putting some level of reporting on top of that. Okay, this is in my opinion, a super important feature that I've been interested in for quite some time. But the concept with loading data in and out of object storage is great. Object storage can handle lots and lots of files. It's backed up and replicated across region or across availability domains and everything very easily. So the concept is here now you can export or when you import or when you export the data, you can either, when you're exporting, you're encrypting the data, and when you're importing it, you're decrypting it. So the concept here is, and I've had customers in the past actually build external, jobs to decrypt files. But in my personal opinion, when I'm putting something in object storage, especially if it's sensitive data, I want that file encrypted inside of object storage. And what I mean by that is, I want the file to have encryption on top of it. So now when you actually run an export data, you can give it an encryption algorithm as part of the format option. So here example, and this is an example of loading it where we're decrypting it, what we're giving it and then using a credential as the password for the decryption. So the concept is, if you've got sensitive data that you're storing in object storage, the database in and of itself will now encrypt that data when you're writing it or exporting it out of the data using DBMS Cloud Export. And then when you're bringing it in, either through copy data or external table, you're actually decrypting it. So definitely makes the data more secure as it's being stored inside of object storage. Okay. Another very useful feature for things like copy data, external table creation, things like that, we now allow you to use regular expressions. So for most of the time, you've been using wildcards, things like question marks and the asterisk character, and that's very useful. You say sales star right .csv, and it will go pull all the files out of object storage, a particular bucket that have that pattern, right? Very much like you used in Windows and things like that, right? But now you can do much more sophisticated parameters around or sophisticated expressions around using regular expressions. Personally, I'm not a regular expression expert, so I have to Google things and try to figure it out. But once you get the handle on kind of how regular expressions work, they are extremely powerful for, in this case, identifying what files you want to include in a copy data or within an external table. So it definitely makes it a lot more flexible and a lot more powerful to identify what you're going to load or link to in an external table. Okay. Very cool feature in my opinion. kind of a deep level internal thing that we now do allow in NFS version 4 support. So, one of the things, and we've talked about object storage, right? One of the things that you may or may not know you can do is you can attach a network file system, whether that be an OCI network file system or an on-premise file system, right? Assuming you've got all the networking and things in place for your VCN and all that, right? You can actually now attach a version 4 NFS file system. So you can now give it an option of the NFS version. So it's just a new feature that's allowing you to use a more modern version of NFS. But the most important thing is object storage is very useful. But if you're much more into the model of mounting file systems and wanting to share file systems across the database as well as compute instances, you can now attach file systems to both the database and the compute, and everything can write to it, right? And it's all acting as just regular directories. It's not using URLs and those types of things, which object storage does. But there is a difference in cost, obviously. So, object storage is an extremely cheap storage layer. File systems definitely do cost a bit more. Okay. Another feature kind of for the old Oracle people that have been around, I've been around 29 years, so I definitely have seen external procedures used a lot, especially on premise. But for for the history of Autonomous, we have not allowed you to invoke external procedures. Obviously, it's a shared environment. We're running on multiple customers running on the same pod and the same servers, right? So it's all secured, and that was part of the process is we couldn't allow you to run a procedure on our hardware, right, or on our operating system. So now we've introduced what's called the XProc agent, which is essentially a marketplace image. It's a compute image that includes an agent that allows you to install C code. So for C language, you can put your C language on a host and then call that from the database. And so historically, this was very commonly used for scientific type calculations, things that perform very, very fast in native languages like C, right? Versions PL SQL. So by putting that code there, customers have been doing that. And you'll see, we've had the example with Java running in the database for many years as well. But the external procedure is definitely a kind of a historical way of being able to leverage C code, your own C code within the database. Okay. All right. Another new feature is the refreshable clone automatic refresh option. So now, when you create a refreshable clone, historically you were utilizing a manual process to refresh that clone. You could write your own scripts and things like that, and run jobs to do that automatically through APIs. But now we have a button enabled in the UI that allows you to say, okay, I want this to be an automatic refresh. You can set the refresh frequency of hours or days, and then the maximum is 7 days, which is the maximum of a refreshable clone before you need to refresh it, right? So basically you're giving two parameters. What is, how often you want it to be refreshed, and then the data lag that you're allowed, the minimum data lag that you want to see. So the automatic refresh basically will come in and say, all right, well, I want to refresh every hour, and I want the data to be lagged to 0, which would be a very typical model, right? Now, the data lag is but more used if you're trying to say, I want my refreshable clone to be behind where my production or my source database is. So I think most people would use data lag of value 0 for the most common case, but now you no longer have to come in and, oh, is it 7 days? I need to hit the refresh button, things like that. So automatic refresh makes life a lot easier for managing refreshable clones. Okay. All right, Lexi mentioned live data sharing across using database actions, so I won't spend too much time on this, but just to point out again, it is the ability to do data sharing between two different autonomous databases using a direct connection. So the data is always up to date as of the last commit to the database, right? Now, Alexi also mentioned cloud links, which is the ability to do query data between different autonomous databases. And that's definitely been an interesting feature where you can say, oh, I've got another database in a different tenant, in a different compartment or in a different tenancy that I want to share that data to. So you could publish that data out using a cloud link to another autonomous database, right? Now, what we've added is, and there has been this capability to offload that data request to a refreshable clone. So historically, we've had the ability to say, okay, consumer number 2, and you're doing a mapping in the creation of the cloud link, is you're mapping this consumer to this refreshable clone in the process, right? So you say offload target, right, and then what is the cloud link database ID, right? But what they've added is this new feature of any, right? So before you would map everything to an individual consumer that would go to a particular refreshable clone. But now you can say any consumer that is not, or any consumer, you could just leave it at any. But if you've got the groupings, right, you can say anybody that's not in consumer 1 or 2 can go to this other refreshable clone. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility into how you map the offloading across all the different consumers of your cloud link. Okay. All right, and another really interesting feature, I think, that a lot of people have been after for a long time is what we call cloud tables, right? And so now you can create a cloud table which the data resides outside of the database, does not consume database storage, and it is created, the table and the data are stored in object storage, right? So the concept here is if you've got things like logging data, or obviously when it's in object storage, it doesn't perform as fast as internal data to the database. So the concept, if you've got low value data, things like log data, data you don't necessarily access all the time, you can actually create a cloud table and just store that data in object storage. So it's like an alternative way of saying, oh, I don't want to actually put my data into my autonomous database. I just want it to be external. You can then run selects, inserts, and updates against that table. So definitely a very interesting way of handling data outside of the database, but making it look like it's just a normal Oracle table with select, inserts, and updates on top of it. Okay. Another new area is Apache Iceberg table support. So Iceberg tables are relatively popular in the world of big data and data management. It's kind of a newer area of how to store the data in these in the Iceberg format. But now we support querying of Iceberg tables stored in AWS object storage or in OCI object storage. And so essentially you come in and you build an external table, right? And you tell it, what protocol type it is, Iceberg, and you give some of the metadata associated with, what is the catalog type and what is the, where is the location, right? And the path to the table, right? So the concept now is if you've got somebody generating files, or if you're building these files as part of a Spark job, or, Glue catalog, in AWS with Spark and Athena, you can actually just take that data and then consume that from Autonomous Database as an external table. So we now understand that entire protocol. You've probably seen Parquet, and most people use CSV, but this is kind of more of a modern big data format. Okay. All right. Now this is a really interesting one, I think, that a lot of people should get a lot of value out of. I'm sure many of you have opened a service request with Oracle in the past, and as part of Autonomous, Oracle is the operator, so we have more responsibility than we did with an on-premise database or with an unmanaged database cloud service like DDCS. So, when we're taking and doing support, very often, normally we don't access your data whatsoever. And by that, we mean, yes, we manage your database, but we don't ever go in. None of our people have access to actually look at your data, and let's go into a schema, right? And for performance problems, maybe data type problems, things like that, sometimes it would be very helpful for our support people to be able to access your data. So now you can give a limited duration amount of time access to your data from our operators, right? So you just run this thing, enable operator access authorization, and you give it a number of how many hours you want them to be able to have access to it. So when we're mitigating an issue or trying to troubleshoot something, an Oracle person, in support, and this is somebody that's been authorized to do this, would be able to come in and actually, look at your data and work with you on what is really your data, rather than some simple little test case that somebody tried to build or something like that. They could actually get in there and really look at it. So I think this is a great way to make the autonomous database more supportable. It's not for everybody, absolutely not, but I think a lot of customers would get a lot of value out of something like this. Okay. All right. And as you may have seen, if you use Data Studio or database tools, right, there's a lot of updates going on within database actions and all that, right? So there's been a whole new UI set up, released, I think it was last week, for Data Studio and database tools. So there's a whole new data load dashboard. It's a little different than what Alexi just showed just a couple of minutes. We've kind of reorganized things to make things a lot easier. But we've also added in a number of new capabilities, things like integration into data catalogs, things like GeoJSON support. This is one that many customers have asked for a long time, is loading data into other users' schemas from the admin side. So definitely go check out Data Studio and database actions and all the new UI and features there. Obviously we're still working on making it as good as possible, and you'll definitely continue to see improvements and new enhancements there over time. Okay. All right, now another new one, and I got about 5 minutes here, and I think we'll be okay. Another new feature, and it's kind of more of an extension of a feature. As you may or may not know, we've had the ability to capture a replay or to capture a workload and then replay that workload in your autonomous database. So for example, you may have an autonomous production database and you want to capture the real world production workload against that, and then you want to replay that inside of a refreshable clone. So you create the refreshable clone, you capture the replay, and then you replay the workload, right? What we've enhanced here is, and it works with a feature which we call early patching. So when you create your refreshable clone, you can identify it to be an early patch level. And what that means is that you will get the next week's patch patched into that refreshable clone, so that you could test everything to make sure there's no regressions, there's no issues with the patch that Oracle is going to apply in the next week. So the concept here is that you essentially build your refreshable clone, but then you enable this feature called workload auto replay that allows you to say, okay, I want to capture my workload every Monday and have it be automatically be replayed inside of my refreshable clone without me having to touch anything or do anything. I just want that process to work as a normal stream, and I don't have to do anything associated with it other than review the workload replay reports after it's been replayed on my refreshable clone. So it makes the process a lot easier to leverage and take advantage of the early patch setting, right? But it also enables you to, hands off, not have to worry about capturing and replaying, manually yourself, or running scripts or setting up schedules and things like that to do it. It's all done for you out of the box. Okay, so definitely useful in helping you avoid any sort of regressions or anything associated with our patching. All right, and then finally, I think released just this week is a new feature called cross-region cloud link. So expanding upon what Alexi was describing earlier between two different autonomous databases using a cloud link. Right now, obviously, before, you can use database link still too, and that's still supported, obviously. But this is a lot easier, a lot more cloudy in terms of it knows what a compartment is, it knows what a region is, and all that, right? So it knows how to scope, right? Down to the compartment level and things like that. But previously we didn't have any ability to go cross region with a cloud link. So now, if you build a refreshable clone of that of your data in the remote region, you can now register a cloud link to that data, to that refreshable clone specifically, and your users can access that data in a different region across the cloud link. So it makes a lot easier from a multi-region standpoint, where the source data is in one region and the users are in a different region. Now you can push that data out to them and then use that cloud link to be able to make sure that they're accessing just the specific data that you want them to from a link standpoint. So it's very easy to secure that data down to just that specific area, and you can then use the scoping of a cloud link to control the access points, right? Whether it be particular to a database, particular to a compartment, particular to your tenancy, or to your, to the entire region, right? So there's a broad range of scopes that you can apply there. Okay. All right, I think that's all we have. Please let us know if you have any questions or any thing, and we can try and work with you to figure out how to make it work.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Any questions on the content there from anyone? We're right on time. That was great information from everyone. Thank you so much. Are we sure there's no questions? Can we get the presentation from Steve? Yeah, sure.
Yep.
We will send that to you. Okay, let us know if there's any more questions. Thanks for joining, and talk to you end of this month. Hopefully we don't have to change it again. Right, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Laura. Was great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.